Ann Cornick from Paint and Porcelain Exchange. I'm here to teach beginners how to get started in China painting, and in fact, applying resist is one of those things that is important to know how to do. And I'm also here to keep those of you that have been painting for a while interested in painting and continuing to paint. So we're going to start by talking about our project. That resist has to dry and has to be really dry before you try to paint over it. And if you wait to paint over it, it'll be very successful. But if it's tacky in the least, it's going to mix into your paints. It's going to cause all kinds of problems. So I wanted to go through and show you today how I apply the resist. This is what I took out of the kiln, for those of you that didn't see it. And it's basically, you know, originally I had, let me just back up a little and we'll talk about this. So this is the drawing I did. Very basic, okay? Whimsical though. I want this to be fun and free. So I did this drawing. I traced it on here. And last time that what I did was I showed you how to apply the luster. Then I fired it. So you can see now all the lines are gone. And I saved a picture of the drawing so that I can then go through and draw them all back in after I decide, you know, after I put the resist on and what have you. So when it comes out of the kiln, the first thing you want to do is wipe it with a wet paper towel. That gets all the dust and any places where you put too much luster on and it's flaking off, it will get that off. So it just sort of cleans it. Now, before you put resist on, you have to wipe it with a turpentine. And that's only because you're using the luster underneath. If you didn't have luster on here, you could just apply resist. But I use, this is my turpentine. It's Utrecht, U-T-R-E-C-H-T. Now, you don't have to use this turpentine. This is Gum Spirits turpentine. I got it at Dick Blick, of course, because I live near Dick Blick. You can order Dick Blick online if you want. I don't know if they ship turpentine because it's flammable, but you can find out. And I undo it. I like this particular turpentine. First of all, it lasts me like forever. I'm shocked. But the other thing I like is, really, there's fumes, but they're very minimal. So I'm going to take and put the turpentine on my rag pretty well, and I'm going to wipe my whole tile. I'm wiping the entire tile with turpentine. That's going to keep the resist from sticking. Okay, I'm going to put the lid back on that. Now, resist, let's talk a little bit about that while this turpentine dries. Resist is kind of, I hate resist. I don't like to use resist unless I absolutely have to, but it does give you a nice, sharp, clean edge, as long as you put it on with a nice, sharp, clean edge. Okay, so when you buy the resist, it's like this. It's real liquidy. I don't know if you can see that, but this is, see, it's moving around real well. This one is Bergman Lusters, and you can get it, you can email her at bergmanlusters@gmail.com and get her resist. And it's really nice. It's very liquidy. And I bought this a year ago, and it still moves like nobody's business. I had a luster that was kind of jelly, but not totally jelly. And she told me last year to mix her luster in with my luster and just stir it up. So you can do that as long as it's partially jelly. And this is the one that I'm going to use today. Now, when I took it out, it's been a year, it was kind of jelly again. So what I did was, I took a pipette, hot water, and I put a few drops in, and then I stirred it like this. And I just put a few in, and you see how syrupy it is, that's probably a good consistency for painting. You don't want it too thick. It's hard. If it's too thick, it's hard to get off. But if it's fairly thin, but not too thin, you kind of want a nice medium. Then there's this kind. This is the kind that's like, it's never going to do anything. It's just hard as a rock. If yours has gotten to this consistency, then what you're going to want to do, if you have a microwave, you're going to open it up. You're going to take your pipette with warm water and put a few drops in. And don't use this cap. Take the cap off, it's metal. And just put it in the microwave like this for a few seconds. Just let it beep, stop it. Because you don't want it to do much. Stir it up and keep doing that until you get it to the consistency that you want. Okay, now while we're talking about that, let's talk about storing your luster. When I'm done with my lusters that I've opened, I take some plastic wrap like this, okay, and I cut a piece that's small enough and I put it over the top of the jar and I seal it with the lid. Then I flip it upside down to store it. And that seems to work pretty well for me. So that's just giving you some background about using resist. For removing resist, I have a couple of things, so you might want to look around the house. This is a needle that you use to apply raised paste or enamel. And I like to use this because you can get right under the end and just lift it. The other thing with applying resist is you want to apply it so that all the areas link, so that when you lift one section, it all comes off. On this flower piece, I'm going to be lifting a lot of different sections, but each flower, each butterfly, as you will see, will be one piece. So if you have any of these around the house, or even just a needle, you might want to find them. I should tell you, I have resist particular brushes. I only use them for resist. I have this one, which seems like an odd size, but actually works very well on some of these flowers. I have a big one. So if I'm doing a big branches or something, or big leaves, I have a big brush. I have a super detailed one. This is a 0, because the smoother and the more evenly you apply it, the better. I have this one, which is okay. It's just for that medium type. And then I have one that's for anywhere between a medium and a small. So that's what I have. I only use them for resist. I also have a pan of water, warm water. You could also use a cup with warm water. You don't want to use something you drink out of. And I should mention that because the resist can be toxic. So if you're going to be using, you don't want to ingest it. You don't want to use a cup that you drink out of, okay? You want to use one of these. So this is the piece I'm going to be working on. I've already applied my turpentine with my rag because otherwise the resist will not lift. And this is my resist. You saw what it looks like. Now, I'm going to start by doing the smaller pieces, and I'm just going to dip it in the resist, dip my brush in the resist, and I'm just going to put it on the smaller pieces. I'm going to be doing a sky behind them, so I want to make sure that they're resisted. I don't want them to lose their luster. If you don't resist and you paint over your luster, it will lose its luster. You notice I'm doing this flat. You don't do it on one of those turntables. If you do it on a turntable, you could end up with a real problem, and that is that it would run, and then you'd have a mess on your hands. You have to keep dipping into your resist to do this. And if you've never used resist, then this will be definitely a learning experience for you. Now you notice I wanted this to have a little top on it like that, and it didn't because the brush kind of didn't help me. So once this dries, I'm going to very carefully scrape off what I don't want on here. I'm going to start at one side and work across. I probably should have started the other side and worked this way because I'm right-handed. But okay, here we go. And this is all you do. You just paint it in. But you want to paint it in so that it's not, so it's even as you can get it, as smooth as you can get it. You want to try to cover as much as possible of the luster. And I keep water nearby so that if my brush needs a little, if you need a little, you can always dip it in water a little bit. Might help spread the luster. I'm going to try that right now. I dip this. No, it doesn't really seem to make a difference. Okay. Now, here, I want this entire space. I want the white to stay white. I want the yellow to stay yellow. So I'm painting the entire space. And I'm connecting it. You don't have to go in too far. It just depends what you're doing. If you're doing wet grounding over it, then you're going to want to cover a large space. This is about the consistency you want to apply it. Too thick and it's difficult to get off. Too thin and it's also difficult to get off. So you really want to try to apply it at almost like just to cover everything once, there. I don't want there to show. Okay. Now this flower, I'm going to do this. I'm using a very small brush. This is my 0. And actually, the more I use it, the better I get at it. So you might want to stick with the same size brush depending on what flowers you've done and how big your piece is. My piece is, and it's good, everything stays sticky, so you have to move away from the stickiness. But you might want to use a small brush like this because I feel like after a while I get really good at using it and loading it, and I have better success. So you might want to consider that. I'm loading. Notice how many times, each time you see me leaving this, I'm loading it with more resist. And then these two I want to connect. These I want to connect. I want to connect them because it'll make it easier to remove the resist. Now here, I kind of like the way that went. So I'm going to I put the resist on my brush and then I sort of pull it along, but then I go back and kind of fill it in. In this case, I found that when I didn't put the resist on, I accidentally got on the luster and it dulled the luster. And for me, that was important. You have to turn it as you work on it. You want to paint towards yourself. That's really important. And in applying resist, I will tell you, like here, if I had tried to do it backhanded, I wouldn't have had as good a result. So really think about how you're applying the resist and try to apply it correctly and facing you. So like for this one here, I'm just going to paint it in. Now, if I make the center of the butterfly black, no problem. There we go. It will show up as black, but I'm going to have to be very careful. That's why I'm going to use a pen if I can on this. Okay, let me turn it the other way. But you remove it before you fire it because you really do not want this to turn black. And you try to remove everything, but if you find that you have, I don't know, like a crumb worth on here, it will fire off probably. I've had that happen. But anything more than that, and you could have a problem. If you're a new painter, this is one of those things that most painters don't tell you about, how to use resist. I don't know about you, but when I was, people would say, well, I used resist, but they wouldn't explain how they used resist. And that used to drive me absolutely bonkers. Because I was a new painter and I really wanted to know how they did what they did. But they would say a word and they just assume that I knew what they were talking about. And I thought, well, what is resist? What does it look like? Where do you get it? And I never got answers on that. So it's one of the reasons why I want to spend some time doing some of these things, even though I may not use it as much as other people do. I want you to know and not have somebody say something and you go, I don't know how to do that. I'm just finishing this up so you can see how to use resist. And then that will protect, as long as you put your turpentine on first, that should protect your luster. Okay, so I'm putting my brushes in water, warm water, just to give them a chance to, and I will rinse them off better. And then I've got a bowl here with water. I'm going to take that and wash with just water, maybe soap and water. I think I probably could use Dawn, and just clean up my brushes that I have dedicated to resist. Like I said earlier, you only use brushes that you dedicate to resist because they're water. Resist is water soluble. Thank you for tuning in. Pick up those brushes, your resist brushes, and keep resisting. Bye-bye.